This video is sponsored by Ren. On July 24th, 2020, Elon Musk, one of the two sole and founding members of the terminally online transphobic billionaires club, hit send on his infamous "pronouns suck" tweet.
Pronouns suck.
To which his then pregnant partner, techno-fascist elf princess Grimes, pleaded,
"I love you, but please turn off your phone or give me a call. I cannot support hate. Please stop this. I know this isn't in your heart."
It seems that maybe she felt that hate was in his heart, as Grimes and Musk split up in September 2021, about a year after the birth of their first child. Which is why fans of both parties were shocked to learn in December the pair were back together in a fluid relationship and had secretly welcomed their second child. Only 4 months later, and now Grimes is allegedly dating famous trans TRA activist Chelsea Manning, and one of Musk's 666 children has come out as trans and denounced their father, which did irreparable psychic damage to the alpha male Musk, and he has retaliated the only way a man with a pathological need to be adored can: midlife crisis spending. 'Cause we can all agree that's what's going on here, right? Normally when someone's dad feels uncool and out of control, he buys a very expensive car or has an affair with a woman a little too close in age to you. But if you're rich, like Elon Musk rich, you buy a whole multi-billion-dollar website. Yet behind the scenes, while his personal life was publicly deteriorating, Musk had been quietly purchasing shares of Twitter stock, because men would rather spend $44 billion on a website just to tweet transphobic slurs instead of going to family counseling. That's why we're here. Oh, speaking of here, by the way, if this is your first time here, I'm Kaylin Conrad, and this is How to Kill Twitter. If he wanted to say a slur so bad, he could have just written it on a little note and slipped it in my locker like my vice principal did. So fast forward a few months to the year of our Lord 2022. By March 14th, Musk had acquired a 5% stake of Twitter, which triggered a public disclosure by the US Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC. However, Musk, never missing an opportunity to manipulate stock prices, delayed the disclosure until the SEC's March 25th deadline so he could continue buying stocks at a lower price. The Washington Post estimates Musk saved about $156 million from this clever maneuver. A month later, now with around 9.2% stake in the company, Musk offered to buy Twitter outright for $54.20 per share, or 44 billion American Girl doll hairs in mysteriously sourced financing. There was some minor resistance, but Twitter's board accepted Musk's offer after he threatened to circumvent the board completely and bring the offer to the shareholders directly. Legally, once Twitter's board agreed to the offer, Musk had no legal recourse to back out of the purchase for, say, not actually having the funds to seal the deal, unless he could prove Twitter's board had lied to him regarding essential terms of the sale. And now the deal is on hold because Musk is convinced Twitter's board is lying about their stats that claim spam and bot accounts make up less than 5% of total users. In response, Twitter's CEO detailed in a thread how the company came up with the 5% figure, to which Elon Musk replied with a single poop emoji. His tweets are always so cringe, and that's coming from me. This man is bringing that Aunt Phyllis Facebook energy to Twitter, and I legit cannot handle it, as I'm severely allergic to anything nasty. Which is why I decided to log off, prepare myself a simple picnic with a little bit of a theme, and come out here to nature to touch some grass. Oh yeah. By June, Musk has filed a complaint with the SEC to back out of the sale, claiming Twitter had failed to fill his information requests, to which Twitter countersued, stating they had given Musk a fire hose of information. Musk counters again with the bogus claim that bots are overrunning the platform. But instead of continuing to waste funds on litigation, just have the SEC tell you you're a lying sack of shit who is legally bound to fork over $44 billion on your midlife crisis purchase. Musk dropped the suit and closed the deal. And now, just like Elon Musk, we're expected to pay for Twitter. Daddy, there's a hobgoblin destroying my favorite shitposting platform. Can you come pick me up? I'm scared. In his purchase, Musk said he wants to make Twitter better than ever by enhancing the product with new features, making the algorithms open source to increase trust, defeating the spam bots, and authenticating all humans. And he's going to do this by burying the tweets of anyone who isn't willing to pay a monthly fee to use Twitter. After all, real people have money and bots don't, right? Where would a robot even get money, Elon? $10? But in a recent Twitter Spaces discussion, he mentioned he also wants to turn Twitter into YouTube with longer videos. And also Vine with shorter videos. And also a bank. If this all sounds, well, ill-advised, don't worry, he knows.
Please note that Twitter will do lots of dumb things in the coming months.
Solid business plan. Literally, what could go wrong? Musk has emphasized his belief that Twitter, a privately owned company, needs to be a free speech zone, and he plans to drag this dream to fruition with promises that Donald Trump and other notoriously suspended accounts will be allowed to return. Okay. I'm just saying, if this is going to be the death throes of this app, then we should at least let Azalea Banks have a chance to beef with the former president of the United States of the USA. Post-purchase, Musk himself was quick to jump on the free speech brigade by immediately tweeting homophobic conspiracy theories about the attack on Nancy Pelosi's husband and banning any and all accounts permanently for parodying him. He's also tweeted a lot. When libs of TikTok, newly verified, decided to tweet out about somebody else they wanted their fans to harass, Elon Musk replied with a tragic case of adult onset Tourette's. This scumbag is on the site for 2 weeks and is already talking about the users like he's one of those inbred dragon lords from that one show, proselytizing drunkenly to his serfs. He's also had these pie-in-the-sky delusions of grandeur, turning Twitter's headquarters in San Francisco into a homeless shelter. The guy who hates public transit so much he'd rather drill a death tunnel into the San Andreas Fault wants us to believe he would share a workspace with the unhoused. J'accuse du lying Don Frances, Elon. J'accuse. When I first heard he had acquired Twitter, I had hoped it would be more of a daddy vibe, detached, hands-off, absent. Basically, I thought he'd treat Twitter like one of his kids and just silently own us from afar. But I'm not some huge account, and the experience when you're in the public eye more than I am is much different. So I asked the people that I'm mutuals with on Twitter what they thought. A few people I know echoed a similar sentiment to what I had been feeling. But a lot of people on my timeline were much more concerned. My old pal and notable trans-TRA activist, Katie, said,
"It's definitely going to get significantly worse. I don't think people appreciate how dark it can get and how much Twitter filtered off. It might have previously only done a 5 out of 10 job, but that's better than nothing."
Immediately, and I means immediately, after Musk closed the deal with Twitter, there was an instant increase in hate speech, according to Head of Safety and Integrity. He told journalists that those hateful accounts, numbering 1,500 at most, had all swiftly been suspended, but the damage of the over 50,000 tweets fired off was already done. The fervor with which bigots have begun posting slurs, with Elon himself often stoking the flames, should be cause for concern for the future of the platform. The Network Contagion Research Institute tweeted on October 28th, saying that evidence suggests that bad actors are trying to test the limits on Twitter. Several posts on 4chan encourage users to amplify derogatory slurs. For example, over the last 12 hours, the use of the N-word has increased nearly 500% from the previous average. These tweets are so disgusting, so here are some of the tweets that I can show you most of without losing my channel. The bird is free to say.
So, can I say the N-word now?
Thank you for freeing the blue bird, Elon. Only tyrants and frauds fear free speech. Let the free marketplace of ideas thrive.
These racists, these bigots, these trolls are doing this because they want to push boundaries. They want to make people uncomfortable. They derive pleasure from widening the margins. And if they're allowed to continue to do so, they'll make the platform so incredibly hostile to any marginalized person who tries to use it. And Musk wants to make that process even simpler. According to Bloomberg News, Musk has 2 top priorities now that he's taken over. The first is Twitter's general misinformation policy, which penalizes posts that include falsehoods about topics like election outcomes and COVID-19. The second is that Musk has also asked the team to review Twitter's hateful conduct policy, specifically a section that says users can be penalized for targeted misgendering or dead naming of trans individuals. Transphobia is back on the menu, boys. After Elon's purchase of Twitter, Matt Walsh, notable fascist and stochastic of garbage monster, said,
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to start misgendering again.
Musk's purchase of Twitter has notably achieved one thing more than any other: chaos. And it wasn't just a feeling of chaos for the users of Twitter, the staff running it were feeling it too, mostly, if not completely, due to Musk himself. Because if you know how he runs a business, his treatment of Twitter employees will be exactly what you expected. Layoffs, painfully unrealistic expectations, a complete lack of organization, and just the most inane policy changes and reversals.
We're not currently putting an official label on accounts, but we are aggressively going after impersonation and deception. To combat impersonation, we've added an official label to some accounts.
Since the takeover, Musk has laid off about half of Twitter's 7,500 employees, told companies and brands that he would engage in a thermonuclear name and shame if they stopped advertising, and warned that the company was doing so poorly that it could be on the verge of bankruptcy. Engineers at Twitter said that the layoffs have caused issues with the service as well.
We're accumulating technical debt much faster than before, almost as fast as we're accumulating financial debt. Things will be broken. Things will be broken more often. Things will be broken for longer periods of time, and things will be broken in more severe ways. Everything will compound until eventually it's not usable. I would expect to start seeing significant public-facing problems with the technology within 6 months, and I feel like that's a generous estimate.
When Musk was asked how staff should deal with the morale issues, he said,
Workers would need to go hardcore and play to win.
Thanks, Pops. Musk has also promised a new Content Moderation Council, where a new panel will discuss significant content decisions amongst widely diverse viewpoints. Like this bigot tweeting 3 slurs for 3 separate groups that I have to hide 99% of the letters in or I'd be demonetized and sent through the veil to the shadow realm where videos go to die. Speaking of being demonetized, darn does that happen to like most of my videos? Which is why I take on sponsors, like Ren. Well, so far, only Ren. In my video essay on climate change earlier this year, We Can Save the Planet, I posit that while it's true that individual action isn't going to stop climate change, we are absolutely not powerless. You may be just one person, but your actions create direct and immediate reactions, can cause a cascade. Partly in that seeing people we respect speaking up, being passionate and articulate about climate issues gives us room to foster our own passions, our own voice in the fight. And while I don't believe individual action is the end goal, I think it's where passion for real change in society is going to start. And we're going to need that to achieve our end goals. You know that feeling when you watch a documentary, a video essay, or TV show, listen to a podcast on some niche issue, and the passion of the speaker lights a fire inside you that until then had been dormant? For me, with Ren, that specific project that got me super excited was their community tree planting program. It's actually made me want to work with them and sign up. The Ren Initiative funds TIST, which is the International Small Group and Tree Planting Program. This is a program in which farmers gather in small local groups responsible for planting and replanting trees. Subsistence farmers organize themselves to plant trees on their degraded land to improve their livelihoods and address local, regional, and global environmental issues such as deforestation, and the results of which that include biodiversity loss, poverty, and vulnerability to climate change. TIST has proven that farmers can reverse deforestation, improve their lives, and combat climate change at the same time with the help of Ren. When I signed up, it only took 2 minutes. I did it on my phone. I went to ren.co and there was a week quiz to calculate my carbon footprint. I answered questions and it gave me a chart on what my footprint likely is. Then, if you want, you can offset that by supporting programs like TIST, or supplying clean cooking fuel for refugees, mineral weathering in Scotland, rainforest protection, or initiatives that target policy changes to affect climate legislation. Once you sign up for monthly contributions, they send you details and photos of the trees planted, areas reforested, and updates about the projects you're funding. I got an update recently that was super exciting, and now I have a new favorite Ren initiative that's still about trees. The update was that all 8 Ren-supported communities in Baja Amazonas, Peru, participating in Rainforest Alert have reported successful decreases in deforestation. 4 of them have used payments to help legally register their lands as indigenous territories, advancing their efforts to protect their rainforests. The indigenous communities supported by Ren are monitoring forests and receiving financial resources to purchase key amenities necessary to live a sustainable, healthy life. This includes the installation of solar panels for electricity, water filtration systems, communal boats, and agricultural equipment. Now the communities can decide for themselves what they need, rather than having government institutions or foreign nonprofits decide for them. So far, over 115,000 acres of indigenous land has been reclaimed. That's about twice the size of Osaka. So if you're looking for a way to easily support climate initiatives that make tangible differences in the lives of people who will be most affected by climate change, Ren is one way you can do that. Offset your carbon footprint on Ren. The first 100 people to sign up to Ren using my link will get their first month of the subscription for free. Literally, it will cost you nothing and you'll help with so many dope initiatives. You know, unlike the folks at Ren, who seem to be pushing to improve the material conditions of people's lives, 3 years ago, Grimes told Musk to put a screen timer on his Twitter app, and he's made it his personal mission to make the rest of us suffer for it. Right now, he's having the time of his life because he's getting what he wants right now. People are talking about him. My bad. Like, yes, I need Twitter for work, but if he kills the platform, it's going to affect him too. Not even the 44 billion. The rich can always scam their way into more money. But if Twitter would suddenly stop functioning tomorrow, he'd lose the one thing he craves more than anything. Us, his captive audience. His sick desire for attention at all costs means, in some ways, he needs Twitter more than we do. And somehow, he still doesn't understand that having the ability to literally just buy the social network you're constantly getting dunked on makes you the media elite he's always ranting about.
As Twitter pursues the goal of elevating citizen journalism, Media Elite will try everything to stop that from happening.
By Media Elite, he means like the verified accounts of freelance writers at Vice with like 8,000 followers.
Leave if you don't like it. Build your own Twitter.
Citrusy. Like, nifty idea, but Twitter intentionally made itself necessary for anyone with ambitions to work in media who isn't a nepotism baby. If your parents' names aren't blue on Wikipedia, you probably need Twitter to work in the public sphere. The wealthy can provide material resources and networking opportunities for their own, but the rest of us in the content mines have to learn demonic terms like click-through rate and search engine optimization in order to live paycheck to paycheck. I'm going to talk about this from my perspective as both a YouTuber and an activist who relies on Twitter to network, as well as disseminate information and shitpost. Personally, as a self-taught video editor with no formal education in anything, no advertising budget, who doesn't even make minimum wage doing this, for me, having a platform on Twitter as well as YouTube allows my videos that are being punished by YouTube's algorithm to also have a second chance with Twitter's. When I released my documentary on anti-LGBTQ+ moral panics earlier this month, YouTube turned off ad revenue and ostensibly buried it. My subscribers told me they didn't even get a notification. But the kindness of other YouTubers sharing my video manually on their community pages, combined with my followers on Twitter sharing the video to their followers, it was enough to prevent it from being suppressed completely. But soon, if I don't pay the fee for Twitter Blue, it's possible even my followers on Twitter wouldn't be shown those tweets. Because if you're not a paying subscriber, Musk is saying your tweets will soon be suppressed. He learned early in life that if you want special privileges, all you need is money, and like the terrible father he is, he's trying to impart that sage wisdom on us. That we need to deep throat that silver spoon mentality as well. Having a hit tweet or going viral can often be a life-changing event for creators, bringing not just attention to their art, but kind patrons who will financially support their endeavors. I spend more time working on these videos every day than I spend doing everything else in my life combined, including sleep. People often comment on my videos about my high production values, and I wonder if people think that means YouTube generates a high return for my work. When I make literally nothing on ads because most of my videos are demonetized, and the production values are just me, my computer, and my newfound sciatica from sitting like a homunculus while I work. So yeah, a presence online is a form of social capital that freelance creators need to stand out in a sea of other creators. This is especially true for marginalized creators who may already be relying on Twitter for access to communities they otherwise would not have access to. If Twitter becomes unsafe to use and people abandon the site, then many creators will see a noticeable dip in engagement while people relocate and build platforms from scratch. It simply isn't financially safe for many of us to abandon the platform full steam. I've had so many people imply I should just switch to Mastodon or Instagram or, God forbid, Facebook. But saying, why don't you just start again to someone who relies on the platform, who spent years getting to where they are on it, is just not a reasonable prospect. When Musk first suggested that a verification checkmark would be $8, it was laughable to many people, myself included. Now that the symbol costs less than a soy caramel macchiato, why would you even want it? For some of the people who desired it, many did so only for the elite status they felt it conveyed. But now that it was cheapened, and anyone with a credit card and cell phone could get one, or anyone who knew someone like that, it lost its appeal for many. This was foretold by the prophet Theodore Seuss, PhD, in a story called The Sneetches. The Sneetches tells us a tale of a long ago time where a race of terminally online gay chickens called the Sneetches ruled the earth. There were some that were basic bitches and had plain ugly garbage bellies, and some that were dope and had gorgeous, cool, elevated star bellies. The plain belly Sneetches wanted to get in on all those star belly events, but they were blacklisted for being nasty and boring. Then one day, it seems, while the plain belly Sneetches were moping and doping alone on the beaches, just sitting there wishing their bellies had stars, a stranger zipped up in the strangest of cars. And the hideous little man said, "You want stars like a star-bellied Sneetch? My friends, you can have them for $3 each." And it worked. They were giving born this way, and they yelled at the ones who had stars from the start, "We're exactly like you. You can't tell us apart." And the OG Starbellies were like, "What the fuck, you rats? Now that everyone's doing it, what's the point even?" So they had the men remove them for $3 each. And seeing this, realizing the trend was now about to end, the new money Starbellies got theirs removed too. And then in and out of the machine they went until neither the plain nor the Starbellies knew whether this one was that one, or that one was this one, or which one was what one, or what one was who. Moral of the story is, don't be elitist, log off and brush your hair before you look like this. See, when the issue was simply a symbol, it felt pretty shallow to want it badly enough to pay for it. But now that Musk has announced that non-verified users will have their interactions sent to the bottom of everybody's feeds, essentially silencing those users, paying the fee feels almost necessary if you plan on continuing to use the platform for education or activism, or else you're just shouting into the void. Nearly every viral tweet of mine has been about what I've learned during my time undercover in private gender-critical Facebook groups, and each has helped to shine a light on the hatred and ill will these people harbor. So when the news broke that verified users would get priority in the algorithm, I started to wonder, would I be willing to pay $8 a month to keep that spotlight on the work that I do, specifically around hate groups and their movements? That's an easy yes. But would I be willing to do that knowing that activists and journalists who didn't have $8 a month would now have their work buried under mine? Well, now that hard yes is replaced by perpetual hesitation and internal dialogue that leads to a stalemate every time. Because Twitter is a place where groups organize their activism and are able to get out their messages that the mainstream media simply would never agree to amplify. And within Twitter, it is those most marginalized who have the least access to the platform provided by a paid account. And choosing to speak over them using my purchase power is a little hideous. But then again, if all the marginalized creators who use the site refuse to play his game and we all sink to the bottom of the platform, who is hurt most by it? Us. But then again, it is those most marginalized who have least access to the platform provided by a paid account, and choosing to speak over them using your purchase power, even if you're marginalized, is still, once again, hideous. And so I loop-de-loop and ham and haw about whether it's moral to pay a fee to boost my activism while libs of frickin' TikTok is now verified and revving up to get someone killed, and literal accounts are verified and the system is glitching and saying it's because they're notable figures and not because they paid $8. And I don't know if I'm overcorrecting by stepping back and saying that I won't participate in this culture war turned real war because I'm too good, too moral, too not cringe to pay for a vanity symbol next to my name and dab vesty. I'm already vegan. Don't I do enough already? I just want to shitpost about Straggets with my friends on beantat.com, but this man has to come ruin a platform he doesn't even know how to use to post on. Pronouns suck. Please, that's barely even a tweet. Put your back into it, you waxy scumbag freak. But then again, in the throes of a moral crisis over how to spend $8 I should really just give to the next trans crowdfund I see, something beautiful happened. Those dirty little freaks, those absolute sickos, those deranged-based shit posters, they figured it out. Tweets started popping up from brand accounts that, if taken as legitimate, would completely destroy confidence in the brand. Like when an imposter account popped up pretending to be Eli Lilly, tweeting from a verified account that insulin was now free, their stock tumbled more than 5% in the morning trading and was still down more than 4% at close. Eli Lilly was forced to tweet from their own, also verified account that no, insulin was not going to be free. And this wasn't the only one. Totally George Bush was tweeting about how much he loved war crimes. Real Lockheed Martin said we will begin halting all weapons sales to Saudi Arabia, Israel, and the United States until further investigation into their record of human rights abuses. Definitely Nestle tweeted, "We steal your water and sell it back to you, lol." BP Global For Real said, "Just because we killed the planet doesn't mean we can't miss it," single tear emoji. And most devastating to their brand image, actually Pepsi tweeted, "Coke is better." Like, I'm sorry, but some of the best tweets of the year are being fired off right now. The atmosphere is tense, but excited? Like the week Trump had COVID, or when the Queen, what's-her-nuts, died.
Not gonna lie, corporations being forced to come on here and publicly say shit like, "We apologize for the impersonator account that tweeted that everyone deserves food, clean water, and shelter. That is absolutely not what we stand for," is pretty funny.
As of filming this, $8 verification for Twitter has been put on hold, and people are feeling emboldened, excited, and energized by the level of shitposting going on.
It is demoralizing to know that you're a website's product, but really energizing to know that you could be a really terrible product. If we collectively ruin the richest man on earth with nothing but the power of shitposting, it'll all have been worth it. We'll finally have a definitive answer to the question, is posting praxis? And it'll be a resounding yes, echoing over the burning rubble.
If you know me, you know I don't love dog piles or really even dunking content, but it just hits diff when it's about the richest man alive, you know? The piece of the discussion that's often missing in discourse about whether or not there should be a mass migration to another platform is that Twitter actually kind of works. Worked? It did recently. It cuts a lot of the heavy lifting out of a creator's day by making engaging with their work so simple an amoeba could do it. Part of Twitter's mass appeal is the admittedly sometimes parasocial morsels we get to gobble up by lifting the veil of celebrity to show that many, not all, artists are people just like you. That is how communities of creators have been able to establish themselves, because it's actually a social networking site unlike the void of resumes, job postings, and psyops on LinkedIn. Every person who has ever done a line read on this channel or that I've collaborated with, I met through Twitter. I've actually made in real life friends because we met on Twitter. And despite the fact that Twitter is populated with legitimately horrible people as well, I've still carved out a community I'm not ready to give up on. Though some of us have seemed to decide to play it by ear, hunker down and block and mute as much of the vitriol as we can, but the worry is palpable. Links to other social sites are replacing pinned tweets to Patreons. New Mastodon instances are springing up. Some members in my community are even leaving the platform to avoid the headache preemptively. And those of us who are staying, it's like Lauren Ingram said.
It really feels like we're the musicians on the Titanic just playing through as it sinks.
As of right now, users' content being buried due to not being verified hasn't rolled out yet. And given the half-assed way things are being rolled out, then back in, then out again, maybe it never will. What I can say for sure is as of right now, there's no reason to pay for Twitter unless you're planning on doing a little impersonation when or if Twitter Blue comes back online. Because while anyone who impersonates Elon Musk is swiftly getting banned, even if they clearly identify as a parody account, fake accounts with $8 verification have impersonated companies like Nintendo, posting, let's say, off-brand content. Fake OJ is admitting to murder. Fake Dave Chappelle is now a trans ally, very based. And fake but verified president of the United States of the USA is tweeting about milking his wrinkle pinkle with a palm full of Aveeno. And when this is brought to the attention of Musk, he replied with this. 2 laughing emojis.
It was either end world hunger or this.
5 years ago, Twitter modernized its policy about who could be verified and get the checkmark after it was called out for verifying white nationalist Jason Kessler, the organizer of the deadly Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, Virginia. But 5 years after he lost his verification, Kessler bought it back from a billionaire for $8 a month. So as killers like Kyle Rittenhouse and like Richard Spencer become verified accounts and advertisers begin to have their brands and reputations tarnished by imposters, journalists want to know, Elon, what the fuck are you doing? When The Verge reached out to Twitter for comment, the social media giant replied saying that Twitter no longer has a communications department. Since the ship is not only sinking, but rapidly, I'm leaving a little bit of room here for anything that may have happened since the night I'm filming this. These videos don't edit themselves, so there's a bit of a gap there. I'm just gonna flap my mouth and I'll do the rest in ADR. Previously on a $chan. Elon Musk, retroactive founder of Twitter, was caught stealing and reposting tweets minutes after they were posted. Several anti-vaccine accounts with tens of thousands of followers are now verified by paying $7.99 a month for Twitter Blue. The head of Apple's App Store, Phil Schiller, deleted his Twitter account over the weekend. Advertisers are suspending huge ad campaigns because, and I quote, replies to our posts with hardcore anti-Semitism or adult spam remained up for days even when flagged. Oh, and Twitter's copyright strike system appears to be broken, or rather, there was nobody working there anymore because like 30% of the staff have either fled or been fired. And I was able to watch most of 1995's Camp Cult classic Hackers in a 40-some-odd tweet thread. The mods have been fired, somebody post, but I'm a cheerleader. Experts say that Twitter has a 50% chance of major crash during the World Cup, and Elon Musk, the world's most divorced man, has revoked Twitter's hateful conduct policy as applies to targeted harassment of trans people. But says the new Twitter policy is freedom of speech, but not freedom of reach, which means negative hate tweets will be max deboosted and demonetized, so no ads or other revenue to Twitter, and you won't find the tweet unless you specifically seek it out. Which means all the hateful evil shit people do will still reach the targets of that hate, but nobody else will see it, leaving them to deal with it alone. Good thing Elon has brought back plenty of known stochastic terrorists like Kelly Neidert, who said people at Pride events should be rounded up, as well as the Babylon Bee. And oh yeah, Joe Rogan suggested Elon bring back ex-Canadian and current dirt turf Meghan Murphy. And despite claiming Twitter is full of bots, posted a heavily skewed poll asking if Trump should be reinstated, and guess what? He's back. Well, not really. Donald Trump's Twitter account is unsuspended, and Elon is now literally on his knees panting, begging him to come back, to which Trump responded to him at a conference saying,
I don't see it because I don't see any reason for it. They have a lot of problems at Twitter. You see what's going on. It may make it, it may not make it, but the problems are incredible. The engagements are negative, and you have a lot of bots and you have a lot of fake accounts, which I think they should get on. But Truth Social has taken the place for a lot of people, and I don't see them going back onto Twitter.
If you liked this video, please subscribe, comment, and share it. I don't care if you're sharing it to your own email, and neither does the algorithm. Watch it all the way through, because while Elon Musk may hate creators, you don't have to, bestie. You can help me. On patreon.com/Caitlin Conrad, you can support my channel and get ad-free access to videos, as well as perks like your name in the credits of the videos or the ability to hide an item somewhere on my next set. I'm literally not even making minimum wage. Did I mention that on these videos? And they are not uncomplicated. If you want more of me, you can subscribe to my podcast, Respect the Dead, where we drag the corpses of everyone's least favorite dead people. Conversion therapists, Draculas, Mother Teresa. Love you, besties. Stay gay.
Thank you.